Making a birch tree landscape with tape resist. Birch trees are unusual because they have white bark. The first step for this project is to use some tape. This is blue painter's tape that I picked up at the dollar store. This tape is going to mask off the paper where our birch tree trunks are going to be. It'll keep the paper white just like a birch tree. I'm tearing some pieces to make smaller branches to add some detail to my tree trunks as well. Where I place my tree trunks on my paper helps to create a sense of space. When I place trees further up the paper or away from the bottom edge, they look further away. Now I'm adding a horizon line. The horizon line is where the sky and the ground meet. Now I get to add my fall colors. The tape is going to mask off the tree trunks that we want to become our trees and will keep the paper white like birch trees. I'm using watercolors to start, but you have some other options if you don't have watercolors. I'm using a lot of warm colors, red, orange, and yellow, to make it really feel like fall. Notice how I wash my brush every time I change colors. The other option, if you don't have watercolor, is to use your watercolor markers. I'm going to go ahead and color in the spaces around my tree trunks with fall colors using markers. Because these are washable markers, they will turn to watercolor when you wet them, and then you get the same effect as watercolor paint. I used the colors green and blue along my horizon line to create some contrast. I have to really wet the paper to get the markers to run and blend together. The hardest part is waiting for your paper to dry before you take your painter's tape off. You want to pull it very carefully because you can see at times the paper will come up with the tape. When that happens, I like to try changing directions and going nice and slow so that I don't create a hole in the paper underneath. Now you can see how the tape masked off the space below it, and we have these nice white shapes. This is a great example of positive and negative space. You can see why it's important to let your paper dry before you take the tape off. I had a hard time getting the tape off of this tree without losing some of my paper underneath. Now I'm going to go back with one of my crayons. I'm using purple, and I'm going to add the edges and some of those markings that you see on pretty white birch trees. I hope you enjoyed learning about this technique and that you make your own lovely fall landscape.